terrorism will be seen on the land of Russia like never before. Russia will be hit. Acts of terrorism will be seen all over the land of Europe. They will sit. They will not know what to do.
18 people have been killed in a suicide bomb blast in Russia's southern city of Volgograd. 27 more were injured by the blast, which was detonated at the city's central railway station. Let's now cross live to RT's Igor Piskunov for the details. Hi there, Igor. So what's the latest do we know about the tragedy there?
Well, the explosion happened near the entrance to the central train station in Volgograd and was reportedly conducted by a female suicide bomber. This is where the security checkpoint is located, and we know about up to 18 people killed and 27 others injured. One police officer was killed as well, and reportedly he died as he tried stopping the woman from conducting this horrific act. The president has been notified about the situation, and he sent his representative to Volgograd to control the situation there on the spot. The emergencies ministry is on standby, ready to send planes to Volgograd to give medical attention and also possibly to evacuate some of the injured who need more sophisticated medical help to Moscow. An investigation currently is underway, and the train station is still blocked, and witnesses say the blast was so powerful it damaged several stories of the train station's building.
I approached the scene of the terrorist attack. There were more than 20 people lying on the ground around the train station. Police and rescuers working at the site, ambulances. I think the blast was very powerful because 2 stories of the building were affected. People who were there when the explosive device went off said that all people standing around were killed. It was just a normal day. It was very common, people entering the station, leaving the station, walking around with children. I think there were over 200 people at the station and around the station, maybe 200 or 300 people. After the bus explosion, people here were quite careful. Considering that it's a holiday season, I think people got relaxed, and unfortunately, this is another terrorist attack coming again.
Witnesses say there were more people inside the train station itself, and perhaps if it wasn't for this checkpoint, then there could have been much more fatalities and much more damage done. And while January 1st, 2nd and 3rd have already been announced days of mourning in Volgograd region.
Right, and Igor, this is the second terror attack on the city in the past several months. Please remind us more about that.
Well, that's right. Just 2 months ago, in late October, another female suicide bomber detonated an explosive device inside a public bus, killing herself, 6 others, and injuring over 30 people. So the situation there is still, you just heard the witness say that everybody is very careful and alert, but well, unfortunately, this doesn't help prevent these attacks from taking place.
RT's Igor Piskunov live from central Moscow. Igor, thank you very much indeed for that update. And we spoke to senior lecturer and researcher in international relations and security studies at Moscow State University, Mark Sliboda. He explained what terrorists are trying to achieve with their attacks there.
We've seen several terrorist attacks on trains previously, as well as on metro stations within Moscow over the last decade plus. I think they calculate this as it is extremely disruptive to the fabric of Russian society. It creates a true atmosphere of terror when any average citizen can be affected who uses public transportation, which is the majority of the population.
And there are reports a policeman was killed trying to stop the suspect just before the bomb was detonated. Mark Sliboda says that great efforts are put in place to prevent such tragedies.
Security has been in a heightened condition regarding the threat of terrorist attacks for the last year as we approach a countdown to the Sochi Olympic Games. The federal services of Russia have already announced that they have stopped quite a large number of terrorist incidents throughout the last year and are constantly reporting on a number of militants they have killed. However, this Obviously, it only takes one to get through, and this is what we've seen most recently in Pyatigorsk and now in Volgograd.
And let's now talk about this terror attack with journalist and political observer Sergei Strokhan live here in the studio. Mr. Strokhan, welcome to RT. Very nice to see you. Just 2 months ago, in October, Volgograd was targeted as well. So why is this city?
Well, let the dust settle first, and I think probably investigations will give us more details. But what is clear already now, that if you just look at the map and you see that where Volgograd is, you will understand the logic of the terrorists. It is not very far from Sochi, and probably the reason is Sochi Olympic Games. The basic idea was just to question the credibility of the authorities and the effectiveness of security sources. But it is not only Sochi, from my point of view, which determined Volgograd as a target. Probably few people in the world know, but we Russians know that Volgograd, Stalingrad, this is a sacred place. If you just recall the history of the Second World War, you'll see that this was the place which came to the history books as a monument to unconquerable spirit of Soviet Russian people. And probably terrorists today were trying just to show that those symbols doesn't exist anymore. This was very cunning, very cynical logic, but this is what we've seen today in Volgograd.
Absolutely, and also the holiday season in Russia is about
That's
to begin.
Right, that's right.
Some people are
that's
already
right,
celebrating
right.
Christmas here. So what about the timing?
When you take terrorist acts like this, what is important? Everything is important, not only the number of victims, but we know that terrorists are using this just as a political instrument, as a political tool. And timing is also important, not only location. When you have terrorist act like that, just 48 hours before the New Year, which is one of the major holidays here, festive mood, people are preparing them. So just imagine, people came to railway station. In practical terms, probably they were moving to their relatives, to see their friends. So there will be really dramatic feedback over that, and those were probably the logic behind the terrorists.
Right, and who's behind that attack, in your opinion?
Well, again, let the dust settle. Let us wait for the investigators just to come up with their conclusions. But what is already clear now that there was a suicide bomber. Let me just recall one of the statements which was made by the leader of Chechen terrorist cell, Doku Umarov, who, if I'm not mistaken, last year came up with a just appeal for terrorists just to come up with their terrorist acts. So I think that most probably this is some Al-Qaeda cell which is linked to Chechen underground.